Hello and welcome to the Fit and Free podcast. This is a podcast for women who want it all, to feel strong and confident in their bodies, as well as enjoying a sneaky mug on a Friday night. I'm an exercise physiologist and sports nutritionist, here to teach you how to achieve your body goals without food and your body controlling your life. So let's jump in. Hello you guys and welcome back to another ep of the Fit and Free podcast. I've got such a good episode for you guys because I think it's going to give you a lot of clarity in terms of what you guys might be doing wrong with your nutrition and exercise and ultimately achieving your body composition goal. But before we get into it, I want to share a little bit of a life update and what's been going on in my world at the moment. So, oh my God, winter has officially hit and it is cold. I'm sitting in my room I've just lit the fire downstairs and now I'm no joke, a winter jacket with my slippers on and my socks and a couple of layers because it's cold. It's so cold down in the south coast of New South Wales. I haven't experienced a winter like this in a really long time because the last couple of years I've either been in Bali or then before that I was up in Queensland, the Sunshine Coast. So I am not used to this weather. So that's something. I'm kind of vibing it though because I love cold vibes. I love lighting the fire. I love it being really cozy and I love wearing jeans and more winter clothes. So that's been a vibe. So not all bad for sure. I am absolutely frothing the Fit and Free Academy right now. And ladies, if you're listening, I'm so proud of you all. Honestly, all of the women in there are just kicking goals. They're showing up for themselves, they're getting it done and they're seeing results. And honestly, as a coach, I couldn't be more proud. And then I always just think about I'm so grateful for this life and being able to guide and mentor and help all of these women really break through their fears and ultimately be able to fuel their bodies correctly. Also train in the right way that's actually going to give them results. And I was reflecting on all of this and I've made a few TikTok videos of the last couple of days on about all the things that I have ultimately wasted money on across my fitness journey. And it's so wild to me to how much money I have spent trying to fix this, ultimately me hating myself so much. And also ultimately I will say my relationship with food as well, because that was pretty ficked. And it really got me thinking the time that I spent $4,000 on this online coach for 12 weeks and the amount of money I've spent on challenges and diets and supplements and all of the things. And it just blows my mind to how much time, money I have wasted over the years on all of this stuff. And it's so crazy. It's at the end of the day, nutrition, exercise, and ultimately building a healthy relationship with food is ultimately a skill. There's processes that you need to learn and understand. And once you understand them, you have them for the rest of your life. And that's why I love the Fit and Free Academy so much, because it's such a sustainable approach. But at the same time, I'm not just giving the ladies a meal plan. I'm actually educating them about nutrition, about training, about building a resilient mindset and a beautiful, healthy relationship with food from principles and from science. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because these ladies are walking away with the tools and the knowledge. So they now understand nutrition. They now understand training. They understand nutritional phases, how to achieve a body composition goal, how to see definition, how to lose fat, how to do everything. Because at the end of the day, I said, it's a skill. And once you get it, you get it. And that's why I see so many people struggle, because I did it I did that myself. Spending so much money on fad diets, on supplements, on expensive coaches that ultimately all they did was ruin my relationship with food even more, is because the approach that they gave was just cut everything out and be really restrictive. And how is that ever going to work? And that's it. If you can't see yourself doing it for the rest of your life, then you're not going to be able to sustain it. I remember one of the coaches I worked with, this was actually the one that I had to pay $4,000 for. Their nutrition advice was follow this strict meal plan. Do not eat outside it. Do not eat out. Do not have dessert. Come on. Of course I saw results because I just cut everything out. But then what did it do to me? I was petrified of then eating out after the coaching had finished. I would go out with my mates and I'd just be sitting there and being so internally fixated on the food, being fuck, I'm undoing my progress. I can't do this. because I was actually never taught how to integrate these things, it mentally fucked me up. And I know so many people are giving that sort of advice, super strict, rigid on calories, and not actually teaching people how to eat basically without tracking, and ultimately like intuitively eating. Because like I, to this day, like I have gone through seasons where I track calories and I don't track calories. And some of my clients, like small percentage of my clients do, and I think it's so perfect for them, but a lot of my clients don't. But the end of the day, my goal for every single one of my clients is to be able to eat normally without having to track. Because like, think about it, like why would we want to waste all our time, energy, all the things of always tracking calories? There's definitely times and places for it, but then at the same time, it's like if you don't know how to eat without it, then you actually don't understand nutrition, and the person who's taught you nutrition hasn't taught you properly. Because ultimately, tracking is a fantastic tool to learn. It's a fantastic tool if you want a lot of flexibility in a fat loss phase. But then other than that, like if you're eating at maintenance calories, then like you don't need to be tracking. And ultimately, like if you don't know how to eat at maintenance calories without tracking, then you don't understand nutrition and actually how to fuel your body correctly. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching this to everyone, is because like nobody got time for tracking for the rest of their lives. Like we're not about that. And it's like we want to be able to enjoy our life, our social life, have balance, go out for drinks with our friends without stressing about every single little calorie, so that you can enjoy these experiences without it impacting your body composition goals. So absolutely frothing that right now. And the ladies who are currently in the Fit and Free Academy are like, to be honest, like it's quite a difficult process of letting go of tracking calories. Like I totally get it. I have been there myself, especially because it's like it's a safety blanket, right? It's an element of control. It's our protection mechanism ultimately for gaining weight. And for me, for a long time, like I was very addicted to it as well, because I was terrified of eating too much and gaining weight. So I get it, I truly do. And that's why it's really important to have the right level of support and the right process into letting it go if you are, stuck in that space, because, it can be a really emotional battle if, you're tracking calories and then all of a sudden someone just says, just stop. When you're like, well, no, I'm not going to just stop, because I've got so much safety and control within that you have to be able to build trust in yourself along the process and learn how to fuel your body correctly with the right macronutrients and all the things. So there has to be a level of control as you're letting it go, because otherwise it's going to send you into a fucking spiral. Especially like your body image gets triggered or the number on the scale goes up. It's a whole thing, right? And that's why like one of the main components of the Fit and Free Academy is there's such a high level of support. It's a safe place for the ladies to go, like if they're having a bad body image day, or if they're struggling with calories, or if anything is coming up. It's a really beautiful space that everyone can come in and share and support each other, because everyone really knows what each person is going through, because ultimately they're all going through the same thing. And that's why I love this space so much, because I'm quite picky on who is able to come into the Fit and Free Academy. And that's why I like the process of joining is to have a conversation with me first. Number one, because I love talking to you guys. And number two is I have to make sure that you're a right fit for the academy. It's not a right fit for everyone, which is so beautiful and so perfect. And I love that, because like the people who are in are literally all going through the same thing. So it's such a magical space, and the women feel so well supported, which is so, so beautiful. It's like, you live your life in your head constantly thinking about food, constantly thinking about if you're eating too much. And then all of a sudden you're in this place of like, all of these women are going through exactly the same thing. And all of a sudden you are no longer alone in all of that. So it's so beautiful, and it's so beautiful to see the transformation of the women who are really struggling, and then all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, like I can't believe I can do this, I can't believe I can eat this much without it really affecting my body, which is so beautiful and so powerful. So that's been going on as well. So love that. Obviously that takes up a lot of my time, because I am balls in it with the ladies. Like I truly believe, like, because I've been through these journeys, and I just know, how important it is to have the right level of support, because I know a lot of people like sign on to these online coaches and they're paying like $100 a week or whatever, and all they get is like a meal plan and like a fortnightly check-in and then like email support. Like, sure, that's really good for some people. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. However, like if you have a poor relationship with food, you're thinking about it all the freaking time, you're in your head, you're second guessing everything, you're like addicted to MyFitnessPal, then then that sort of support is not going to be probably supportive of your journey, because it's not just like a strategy issue that you're facing, it's also a mindset issue that's going on as well. And that's why I'm so big on, 50% strategy but 50% mindset work. And that's why the Fit and Free Academy is different from other online coaching. It's more of a holistic approach, and I like to say it's like a personal trainer, a nutritionist, and a body image / relationship with food coach all in one place. And because when you transform your mindset and your strategy is when you're going to get life-changing results. And that's why I keep getting the testimonials saying, literally, Laura, you have changed my life. You've changed my life. I have so many of those. And I'm so proud of that, because ultimately, I'm teaching not from just a university degree and upskilling in nutrition. I'm teaching purely from a place of embodiment. And that's the thing, I've done the study, I've done the research, but I've also lived through it. So the level of teaching and the level of expertise that I get to pass on to my clients is just so good. And that's the other side of it, is I'm the type of person that is always going to be prioritizing myself and my upskilling and investing in myself and my well-being and my knowledge. And that's something about me that I really, really love, and I'm always really so proud of. It's because I've always been the type of person who's very proactive in fixing my shit, basically. I remember finishing my university degree, and I got a job straight away at a physio practice. God, this is a while ago now. But my first ever job was working in a rehab space as a clinical exercise physiologist. I was teaching Pilates, and I was working with a lot of musculoskeletal stuff, a lot of people with chronic disease, and a lot of people with disabilities as well. And I remember when I first finished my degree and started working, and I walked in, I was like, holy fuck, I do not know anything right now. And in this space, it was terrifying and frightening. And then but then I was always the type of person that didn't play victim to that. I always took responsibility, because my perfectionism tendencies, I love them and I hate them, but because I always really want to be good at something, then what did I do? I invested in my education straight away. I invested in a exercise physiology mentorship that went for 6 months. And then I was always putting myself in the room of the physios and shadowing them and making sure that I was getting mentoring in the practice, and always making sure I was putting myself in the room where I could learn and basically just be a massive sponge, because I knew the more confident I would be, the better I would be. And ultimately, the more money I could make, the more freedom I would have, and all of the things. So I've always been the type of person that has always done that. And ultimately, I put it down to that's how I was able to quit my job and start my own business. And because I've always been willing to, to be the beginner and to learn and to do ultimately what it takes in order to be successful. And it just goes to show to be honest, at the beginning, it was really hard. It truly was. It was terrifying. And my ego was pretty big, and she was like, oh, you don't need help, you can do it yourself. That was my story. Or then I would come up with the thing oh, I can't afford it, I'm saving for this, I'm saving for that. But then at the same time, during that phase, I was so unhappy with myself, with my body. And then all these things that was quote unquote was supposed to make me happy, I couldn't really enjoy them, because I was always internally fixated on how much I hated my body and how much I hated and how poor my relationship with food was. So obviously I got over that, and it has been really freaking powerful. And ever since, honestly, I've always prioritized learning and investing in myself, because I've seen it time and time again. I am my greatest return on investment. And, I've made so much more money because I fixed my shit, in terms of I healed my relationship with food. I learned how to train properly. I mastered nutrition, all of these skills, basically, I tick them off. So it's like I don't have to fucking stress about it ever again for the rest of my life. I get to teach my kids how to have good nutrition practices. I get to pass on to my kids how to love your body. How, my kids are not going to have bad body image, because ultimately bad body image is something that you learn. Bad body image is something that gets passed down to you from what you see. So if your parents have bad body image, I guarantee you're going to have a bad body image as well. And that's why I'm so grateful for this life, because I was I do not have any of this shit anymore, because I've taken the responsibility, I've invested in the right things, and now I'm so fucking free. And that's why I want for everyone, because it's just it makes me so happy that I want a little girl one day. I'm just so excited to raise her, because that, food and exercise and body is just not going to be an issue because it's no longer an issue in my life. So like, I'm pretty grateful for all of that and the work that I've done. And that's why I always want to inspire other people to take action and to fix their own shit and ultimately take responsibility. It's because like at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you're investing in going traveling, you're investing in going out for dinner, you're investing in like new clothes and all the things, new cars. It's like investing in all these things, but then at the same time, you're like calling yourself fat every day, you're restricting your food, you're feeling so self-conscious in your clothes, yet you're actually not doing anything about that to fix it. And then what do? We self-soothe by purchasing things, going on holidays, buying new cars, buying houses, all of the things. But it's like, you know, fixing nutrition and exercise is nowhere near as much as what those things are. And achieving those things become a hell of a lot easier when you're not spending all your fucking time thinking about food and thinking about exercise and thinking about your body and how much you hate it, how much time you're wasting sitting on scrolling on social media trying to fix it and all the things. So, and like the other side of all of it is like, it's not something that ever goes away. And that's something that I say to my clients all the time. It's like every new level, there's going to be a new devil. So it's like your personal development journey doesn't ever end. And which I fucking love because it's just like, and I've seen that the more that I work on myself, the more that I work on my mindset, my reactivity, my emotional intelligence, the more confident I can be in my life, the more I get out of life, and also the better coach that I can also be for my clients. At the moment, behind the scenes, I'm going through a bit of shit in terms of some mindset upgrades, and I'm like, I feel the shift and I'm fucking excited about it. I'm definitely going through like an internal up level right now, which is super, super good, and I love it so much. But I have a hypnotherapy session today. Hypnotherapy is honestly like my favorite type of, quote unquote, you can use like the word therapy, but it's my favorite type of subconscious reprogramming and shifting my limiting beliefs. I've got an amazing hypnotherapist. I love her so much, and she has done so much for me over the years. Like I've been working with her off and on for a really long period of time. I think I first saw her when I was like 25. So that's 5 years now. I've been seeing her off and on, and I call her like my little genie. Like I love her so much. She's so great. But like on the surface level, I'm consciously looking at my belief systems and my own limiting beliefs and seeing where, you know, like there's stuff that going on at a surface level, but sometimes you definitely need a deeper level of subconscious reprogramming. And like, I am so there for asking for help and investing in myself to be able to shift some of this stuff easier. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing today, and I am super excited about having that session with her. It stirs up a lot of shit, but like the clarity and then just the sense of stillness and calmness that you get after these sessions is just so impactful and it's so powerful. So I'm super excited to be doing that. So that was a bit of a life update. So that's also many things moving at the moment, and I'm freaking excited. I'm like, to be completely honest, I'm like balls deep in it right now. So it's actually like quite challenging and it's quite taxing. I'm being fully transparent, and it's quite difficult on a daily basis. But like, I know I'm like, you know, hitting the bottom and I can see myself starting to come up onto the other side, which I'm fucking excited about. So I'm holding on to that. So I'm excited to really like move through this shit, which is super exciting. So I would just really want to normalize. It's like asking for help doesn't mean that you're weak, doesn't mean that you're pathetic. What it means is that you value you, and that is fucking powerful. And that is so inspirational. And I truly believe that more women need to stand up for what they truly fucking deserve in their life and put yourself first. Because on the other side of it, it can be pure magic. It can be pure freedom. It can be pure confidence. And that's literally like one step away when you just allow yourself to decide and choose yes, instead of make up all the reasons why you think that you can't. So I absolutely love that. So I know that was a bit of a long life update. So let's jump into the episode. So this is another thing that I love speaking about, and because I see it time and time again, is like so many women are focusing on the wrong things to try and change their body composition. So in today's episode, we are breaking down signs that you need to stop eating in a calorie deficit and actually start focusing on body recomposition. So if you are someone who is thinking about food all the freaking time, then I guarantee you have been tracking every calorie religiously. And if you don't know the calories, you'll either not eat it or you'll beat yourself up if you do. You have been making up rules and restrictions when you should and shouldn't eat. Things like, I have had such a big breakfast, I should have a small lunch. Oh, I've already had a piece of bread at breakfast, so I can't have any for lunch. Or maybe it gets to the end of the day and you think to yourself, you're like, oh, I can't eat anymore because I've already eaten too much today. And you're probably maybe even comparing your food to other people. Like maybe you're going out for dinner and you're looking across the table and you're eating your food and you see someone over on the other side and they've eaten half and they've stopped and they said that they're full. But you know, you've already eaten 3/4 of your meal and you know, you're like, far out, I could eat the rest. So then you think to yourself, you're like, oh my God, I'm eating more than that person. That means I'm overeating and eating too much. So if you're doing one or more of the following things, then I probably guarantee that you're still not happy with your body composition, even though all of these things are happening. So in this episode, we're really breaking down 8 signs that you need to actually stop eating in the deficit and actually start focusing on body recomposition. And I fully get it. I truly do, because like literally you sit on TikTok and everyone is talking about a fat loss. Everyone is talking about a calorie deficit. So I fully understand like people are confused in terms of how to actually change your body composition. Because for a lot of females, especially those who are eating low calories and exercising more than 5 days a week, then eating in a calorie deficit is probably not going to help them. If anything, it's actually probably going to move them further away from their goal and ultimately impact their health in such a negative way. I think this is a conversation that needs to be spoken about more in terms of like what the fuck to do other than eat in a calorie deficit. And I guess this is what this episode is really about. So let's jump into it because I've got a lot to speak about today. So number 1 is signs that you need to stop eating in a calorie deficit and actually focus on body recomposition. So number 1, you've eaten in a calorie deficit and you've reached your goal weight, but you still don't look like you want to. You still don't look lean and toned. You're eating the low calories and you're exercising daily, but you still look skinny fat. See, if you're here, go you, that's freaking amazing. You've done the losing weight bit, which is fucking amazing, but now it's time to start focusing on the right things. You've already reached the weight that you want, but evidently, because you've been focusing on the wrong things, you still don't look lean and toned. So this is sign 1 that you actually need to stop eating in a calorie deficit and you actually need to start focusing on body recomposition. Number 2, this one is similar to number 1, but it's a little bit different. You have reached a plateau with your weight. Maybe the scale has stopped moving and now you're eating really low calories. And what I mean by that is under 1400 and you are doing a lot of exercise. This is a massive red flag that you need to stop eating in a calorie deficit and bring your calories back up and start focusing on body recomposition. The reason why is because the body has a natural response to eating in a calorie deficit. And that's why you have plateaued. Like if you've plateaued with your body in the deficit, that means you need to change what you're doing, because ultimately what happens is the body adapts to the calorie deficit, downregulates its metabolic processes, it decreases your energy, it decreases the intensity that you can train at. So overall, you're burning less calories overall. So the calorie deficit that once was a deficit is now ultimately your new maintenance calories, hence the plateau. So in order to fix this, what you actually have to do, if you are eating those low calories and doing a lot of exercise because you haven't done your calorie deficit quote unquote right, then the only way to reverse coming out of this is focusing on body recomposition. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, if you've been in a calorie deficit for, 6 months to a year and it's not working, it's like, why are you doing it? A calorie deficit is something that has to be intentional. You got to be smart about it. You have a start date, an end date, and then you're focusing on measuring your progress. And if you're not doing any of those things, it's just going to be something that's going to be like dragged out and it's not going to be intentional. And then ultimately all it's going to do is really ruin your relationship with food, because then everything becomes so calorie focused. Everything gets so fearful. You're like, oh my God, am I eating too much? Am I doing the right thing? It's like, well, if you're in that space, you're constantly doubting everything. That means you don't really have a solid plan and like a structured way to achieve the goals that you want. So that's why it's important to, like, I'll always say this, invest in yourself. So you have someone to tell you what to do if you don't know what you're doing. But also someone to hold you accountable and to measure your progress for you so you can get out of your head and start living your life. So why in this space is it really important to switch your focus is because number one, you're going to be able to maintain the fat loss that you've achieved. Number two, you're going to be able to upregulate your metabolism again. You're going to increase your training intensity, and ultimately you're going to be able to eat more without gaining the weight back. And at the same time, because when you focus on body recomposition, aka you got your training and your nutrition and exercise right, what happens is your body composition changes. So the weight that you've achieved, then you can start focusing on changing the actual composition of your body, which is super fun. This is where you get to eat more and look better, which is so fucking amazing. And that's why I love this space, because it's like the amount of women who have come to me and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I can lose fat and build muscle by eating more is amazing. So that's the second sign. The third sign is if you cannot enjoy a spontaneous meal out and it's interfering with your close relationships, like your partner, friends, or family, because you cannot track the calories. Big red flag that you need to take a break from the calorie deficit. And the reason being is because it's impacting your freaking life. Like, it's sucking away your happiness. It's sucking away your freedom. And it's like, well, if you can just take a break from your calorie deficit and focus on body recomping, like building muscle and losing fat at the same time, not only can you get your life back, but you can also still see good body composition changes. And then besides, like if you then want to lose a little bit more fat again, then you absolutely can. Because it's like, what's the point? If your calorie deficit's not even working anyway, then why, number one, stay in it? Why sacrifice your life when ultimately you can have both? You can have all of it when you have the right nutrition and exercise strategy, and when you actually understand what you are doing instead of just picking some calories and sticking to it for a certain amount of time with no structure, with nothing, and then, just overthinking everything because you've got no plan. The next one is you can't stop thinking about food. You're hungry within the last hour of your last meal and you're constantly second guessing if you've eaten too much. Guys, constantly thinking about food is a red flag that you need to come out of a calorie deficit. Why? Because again, it's your body's natural emotional response to get you to eat more. It's a sign of chronically under-eating. Let me say that again. Thinking about food all the time is a sign that you've been under-eating for too long. And you might be thinking, well, why don't I have the body that I want right now? Well, that's because you don't know how to move through nutritional phases. Because we're so conditioned to eat in a calorie deficit to lose weight, that's what people do. They stay there. They stay in a calorie deficit for a long period of time. But eventually it stops working. They have to drop their calories really low, and that ruins their relationship with food. See, this is why it's important to, again, work with someone, because how you have to achieve a body composition goal is through nutritional phases. Yes, eating in a calorie deficit is going to help you drop fat. However, you then need to be able to maintain your fat loss, give your body a break, come back up to maintenance, upregulate your metabolism, get your energy back, like I already spoke to, all of the things, to then go into another fat loss phase again if you want to. And besides, like if you're just constantly eating in a calorie deficit, then, your body is not really going to look any different. The way that your body looks different, if you do it right, in terms of you intentionally spend time out of a calorie deficit and at maintenance calories, focusing on building muscle, and then losing fat to reveal what you've done. And that's how, you're constantly going to get better glutes, get better abs, get better arms, because you're spending like 3/4 of the year basically out of that calorie deficit to improve your body composition. And then if you want to lose a bit of the fat, that's what it gets to look like. And that's like the conversations that I've had in my latest podcast. It's for me now, like I'm a little bit different because I'm eating in a calorie surplus and I'm doing it for like probably a year. But like eventually I will do a fat loss phase to, reveal, like drop some body fat, and which I'm super excited about, because I'll be able to be like, holy shit, like my body composition has changed so much, but that's because I spent a year eating out of a deficit. So going back to that, thinking about food all the time, and that's the thing. It's because you lack the intention of intentionally dropping fat, coming out, maintaining. Then you get to drop fat again and then maintain it, right? Because that's how you're going to do it in a healthy and sustainable way. And a lot of people are getting that wrong because they're not coming back and taking that time at maintenance, aka focusing on body recomping, and just hoping that their way is going to be successful. So the next one is you've got really, really strong cravings. especially for specific foods, those rich in nutrients your body is lacking. And this is something that I see all the freaking time is women who are doing these fad diets, cutting out carbohydrates, their sugar cravings are wild. And that's because your body ultimately is craving energy. Because you're trying to eat really low calories and restrict yourself and not eat complex carbohydrates, especially like if you're filling up on low calorie diet foods like cauliflower rice and zoodles, things like that, it's like your body is craving energy. So what is it going to do? 3 p.m. comes and you cannot stop thinking about sugar. You cannot stop thinking about the cookies, and you just need something sweet to get you through. Ultimately, undereating, and especially undereating carbs, is a massive cause of this. It's so crazy. Like, so many of my clients come to me and we start balancing out their nutrition and fueling their bodies correctly, and they're like, within a week, they're like, holy shit, Laura, like, I don't want to binge eat and I don't have no cravings. I'm like, yeah, because you weren't eating right. And then it's so crazy because everyone's looking for these supplements or these things that are going to fix it. I'm like, well, the thing that's going to fix it is adequate nutrition, fueling your body in the way that it needs on a daily basis. The next sign is you have hormone imbalances. And this one is huge, close to my heart, because for 3 years of my life, I didn't have my period. And I was in denial about it because I didn't, like, the doctor told me I was under eating and over exercising, but I was like, yeah, but I don't look like it. And that's the thing, like, you don't have to be quote unquote extremely lean and small to have hormonal imbalances from under eating. And what happens is there's this thing called low energy availability. And what happens is when you're actually under eating and over exercising, your body adapts to that, even though you're quote unquote not like so freaking small. But because you're putting your body through micro energy dips consistently, then what happens is it interferes with your hormones. And then what happens is your body conserves energy by stopping its menstrual cycle. You don't have a libido. You get cold all the time, right? This is a sign that you have been under eating. And yes, you still have more fat to lose, quote unquote, but it's going to be really, really fucking hard for you to lose fat when your body is not in a healthy state. And this is why I'm so passionate about like fueling for health and making sure our nutrition is optimized and we're eating the right thing for our body, because ultimately, like, if you're not in a healthy state, changing your body composition is going to be fucking hard. You're going to overthink everything. It's not probably going to work in the way that you even want it to. You probably won't even be able to lose fat. And this is why so many people are not even successful in their fat loss. Like, so many people, I'm eating in a calorie deficit, but the fat loss isn't working. I'm like, yeah, well, then you're probably not in a deficit. And like, yeah, you're absolutely sticking to those calories. You're eating those low calories. But because your body wasn't in a healthy state, it wasn't in an optimal state to even lose fat, then that's why it wasn't working. And this is why it's really important to intentionally take some time, eat out maintenance, and focus on body recomposition if you're in this space. The next one is actually a loss of motivation. And this is one to my hardworking ladies, because I know there's so many people out there that are freaking dedicated, showing up every single day, but there's a part of them that was just like, oh, I wish I didn't have to go. Oh my God, like, it's a drag to go to the gym, and like, the motivation level is low, but because ultimately I'm so disciplined and I'm ultimately trying to protect myself from gaining weight because I'm so fucking scared, there's a lot of loss of motivation. And that's something that I've learned over the time. It's like, I remember that, like, I used to do that. Like, I was so fearful of not going to the gym, gaining weight and all the things there. It's like I would force myself to go, even though like I didn't really have very much motivation. And like, a lot of people are like, oh, she's so disciplined, she's so healthy. But like, at the same time, I was like, no, she was mentally not okay. And like, I feel for people in that space because I know how it feels. So like, with training and things like that, it's like motivation levels should be high. You should be excited to go to the gym. And of course, you're not always going to be excited. Like, I fully get that. But at the same time, it's like, when you start fueling right, when your body's in a beautiful state, and when you're like doing things in the right way, like from a healthy place, it's like motivation levels are quite high. Like, now I'm like excited to train, and I know when I need to have a little bit of a break, and I know when I need to pull back a little bit, because I'm like so in tune with my body now. So it's a really good thing to look at. It's like, if you are losing motivation, or we have to ask yourself why, and is it because like you've been eating low calories and doing too much exercise for too long of a period of time. So that's a really big one. I say it all the time. It's like, if people are eating in the calorie deficit, and like when they do it properly, like week 10, 11, 12, like they're fucking over it. Like, and if you've been doing that for 6 months, I'm like, oh babes, like, come on, we need to get this right. And then lastly, of course, we have to speak to is the classic binge restrict cycle. If you are stuck in periods of overeating and then restricting the next day, then red flag, you got to come out of a calorie deficit. Why? It's because you got to think about the binge restrict cycle is like every time you binge, and then every time that restriction happens, you're then setting yourself up again for another binge. And it's a very vicious cycle, and it's really hard to break if you keep telling yourself that you can't eat enough. And because what you have to realize is that restriction fuels obsession. And the more that you cut out is the more that your body is going to crave. So if you're then pairing that with a calorie deficit, because you do intentionally have to eat less than what you are burning, that is restriction. So therefore, that's going to exacerbate the binge eating episodes. And it's so wild because it's like people just think like everything is as so black and white. And like I used to as well. But this is the thing, guys. It's like when you understand nutritional phases, it's like, okay, cool. I'm stuck in a binge restrict cycle. I need to fix this. Cool. I'm going to spend some time fueling my body correctly, learning how to have a beautiful, healthy relationship with food, focusing on getting strong, getting my body back to an optimal health. And when I say body, I'm referring to health, and I'm talking about your mind. Okay. Because when your mind and your body is in a optimal place where you're super healthy, you got lots of energy, you're maintaining on a high amount of calories, yeah, cool. If you want to lose more fat, then you can go in a calorie deficit after you do this phase. Fucking amazing. I'm so here for it. I help a lot of my clients do that. Like that's a lot of where we end up is like, well, first we got to get back to this optimal state. We got to heal our relationship with food, heal our metabolism. And then for those who do then want to lose more body fat, then I teach them how to do a sustainable calorie deficit. Because this is the thing, I'll constantly say that. Like if you're binge eating, if you're maintaining on really low calories, your calorie deficit is not going to work anyway. 1, you're not going to be able to stick to it. And 2, you're not maintaining on a high enough calories to create a calorie deficit that's actually sustainable. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. So guys, I really, really hope this opened your eyes into like, you know, a calorie deficit is not the only thing that you should be doing in order to change your body composition. And I think the biggest takeaway here is like, you have to learn how to be really intentional with nutritional phases, aka you got to understand nutrition from a long-term perspective, not just like, this is what I'm doing right now and this is be all and end all. It's like, you know, you got to have a long-term plan. That's what I always talk to with my clients. It's not a 12-week fix. Like this is the phase and this is the goal for the 12 weeks. Okay, cool. And then we get to set your new goal for the next 12 weeks. And that's how I would like to work it with my clients. It's like we pick a goal for the 12 weeks, we stick to it, then we reassess our goals and stick to it for another 12 weeks and so on and so on. And that's what it gets to be when you have a strategy and when you have a plan and when you know what you're fucking doing. So my loves, I really hope this helped you guys. Let me know if you have any questions in the DMs. I love chatting to you, but I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. Okay, thank you. Bye. Number one challenge that all my clients face before we start working together is a lack of clarity on how much and what to eat to lose weight. Often they are making 2 huge mistakes, constantly trying to skip meals or eat under 1,600 calories. Secondly, only allowing themselves bad foods like chocolate on the weekend, but end up binging, all to tell themselves they're going to start again on Monday. If you feel like you have tried every diet under the sun and still can't figure out what to eat to achieve your weight loss goals, take my free 2-minute quiz. You can find the link in the show notes down below, and it will help you figure out exactly what you're doing wrong with your nutrition and exercise and exactly what to do to fix it so that you can finally be confident in your body and achieve your weight loss goals.